Good afternoon. It is Monday, April 24th. I've not been feeling great. Achy, tired, lightheaded for a while. So I've been resting most of the day. Called out of work. Not really sick, but feeling unwell. So, close enough. In between a couple of naps, I've been trying to continue. Yesterday I cleared out clothes and stuff that I can get rid of to clear up space on shelves. So I was able to pull up some boxes of minis, like my unpainted Reaper Bones minis, and start reorganizing them. Really just, I've had the boxes that they come in, inside of the boxes that everything is stored in, and then all the minis are in bags inside of those boxes. So I just got rid of the excess boxes that are taking up room with cardboard and weird shapes causing air pockets that just are wasting space, so I can store things more efficiently. Just trying to make good decisions for that. Also, other things I can do while just laying around be movie day. I haven't gotten to do movie day in a couple of weeks. So I don't really want to watch a movie that either I haven't seen and really need to pay attention to, or really even one that I think that I'll like a whole lot. But I want to watch something that'll make me smile, because, not feeling great, so a little down. And then beyond that, in this whole mindset of clearing up space, I have a section of movies at the very end of the shelf. Right here, where it goes sideways, where it's all the old James Bond movies I had before I got the collection, or things I had duplicates of, or that kind of thing. With the idea that I'm going to trade those in half-price books, and I'm thinking I should do that sooner rather than later. Even though it won't be only doing it one time, but just to clear up the space. Maybe once I do that, I can even put the movies from the other room that I haven't watched at all on the shelf or something. Anyway, so thinking of okay, the way that movies end up in that little section to be traded in is if I watch through it and I have 2 copies. So I'm gonna watch Trading Places because I have 2 copies. I don't need 2 copies. It's an old movie. It's funny. It's Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd. It should be funny, but I'm not thinking I need 2 copies. So I'll watch it and then keep one and put one over in the spot to trade in. So I'm gonna lay back down and watch Trading Places. And I would give Trading Places a 5.8 out of 10 from the back of the box. A hilarious comedy classic. What happens when a Wall Street tycoon meets a street smart hustler? Find out in the comedy classic that helped launch the careers of 2 Hollywood superstars, Eddie Murphy and Jamie Lee Curtis. From acclaimed director John Landis comes the story of a down-and-out con artist who trades lifestyles with a well-to-do investor, Dan Aykroyd. 2 wealthy power players, Don Ameche and Ralph Bellamy, set the wheels turning with a crazy bet. And from there, the comedy gets richer by the minute. It is a product of its time. This is a movie from 1983. It feels like an older movie. But the general concept is Eddie Murphy is con artist, basically living out on the street kind of guy. And Dan Aykroyd is management at investor firm led by Duke and Duke. Duke and Duke decide, one of them's all it's all nurture, and the other's it's all nature. And so they're they're going to make a bet and try and figure out, what they can do. If they take their manager and they put him down to, poverty level, will he resort to crime? And if they bring this person living in the poverty level and give him all the amenities of a wealthy lifestyle, will he be able to be an honest and hardworking individual? So they do it. They own the house and butler of Dan Aykroyd's character, so they have him basically pretend not to know Dan Aykroyd. They plant things on him to make it seem like he's stealing from the company and dealing drugs and get him arrested. Hire a prostitute to act like she's a drug client of his when his fiance bails him out, so his fiance leaves him. Basically just gets him to the point where he has nothing and also feels like he's going crazy when this person, Eddie Murphy's character, who he had just before all of this bumped into on the street and tried to frame for robbing him because he dropped his own briefcase into Eddie Murphy's hands and is like, oh no, he's stealing from me. So like they already set up before this, like he's not a good person. So when everything's being taken away from him, like we're already not liking the guy. But it's even richer people that are manipulating it, so we don't like that it's happening either. Anyways, so he finds out, his, credit cards and bank account have been frozen. He has nothing. And so he goes to basically make a business deal with this prostitute where, she's trying to work her way out of that. And so for helping him get back in his spot, she wants some money, so she can do less work on her back. So he ends up with one person that's willing to help him out. Eddie Murphy, on the other hand, is basically bailed out from when he'd been put in jail for Dan Aykroyd trying to frame him, whatever, and finds the Duke brothers being like, We're gonna help you out. Here's a home. Here's a butler. Dan Aykroyd's home and butler. Here's an expense account. Here's a job. Come into work. See what you can do. And he is miraculously good at predicting whatever stock market commodity things to do. Unexplained, but he's good because it's comical if he's good at it. Not just trying hard, but being successful. Anyways, as Dan Aykroyd's character gets to the point where he's like trying to like plant things in Eddie Murphy's desk and be like, he's the real criminal, and he's crazy, and he's delusional, and he's suicidal. At that point is when Eddie Murphy overhears the Duke brothers talking about their bet for $1 that they could do it, and how they are racist. They're not going to let Eddie Murphy continue to have the position. They don't want Dan Aykroyd back because he's unhinged now. So they're going to have to figure out how to get things in order. But he's like, doesn't like them both for manipulating both of their lives and also blatantly being racist. So he goes and finds Dan Aykroyd around the time that he's trying to kill himself with drugs. Brings him back to his old house with his butler. Gets the doctor in, gets him taken care of. And when he wakes up in the, oh, it's a dream. Wait, why are you still here then? And they partner up to try and figure out a way to get back at the Dukes. Which they find out the Dukes have been paying somebody to basically get inside information illegally for them. And so they, through literally one of the weirdest drug trip scenes that involves a weird New Year's Eve train party, but there's also a live caged gorilla and Dan Aykroyd in blackface, and the weirdest scene of they get the briefcase of information that is supposed to be handed off to the Duke so that they can give false information and have the real information. Again, this movie, a lot of it wasn't too bad. That I'm like, at near the end, I'm like, no, this is why I don't watch this movie very often. It gets weird. Apes, the butlers, and pretends to be an Irishman. Eddie Murphy pretends to be some sort of foreign exchange student. Jamie Lee Curtis is like dressed as a Swedish girl that's dressed like a girl from Holland, and it gets weird. But they clearly wrote themselves into a corner of, now we have to get this briefcase exchange, and it very much goes off the walls. And in the end, the agent that was doing this, they duct tape him into a gorilla suit and put him in a cage with a real gorilla. Nobody notices that it's a gorilla suit, partially because the real gorilla is also a gorilla suit. It's just a nicer quality gorilla suit, but whatever. Which is inhumane. Anyways, they then take this information, and we get like the climax scene where the Dukes are buying orange juice stock, and Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are waiting until the price is up, and then they're selling what they have and then as things like collapse and like the real report is released and everyone starts selling, then when it gets real low because everyone's in a panic, they buy, and it's this whole thing that basically tells us that stock trading is a mosh pit. It's basically the way it acts. I'm like, I feel like that's too much chaos for any actual work to happen, but sure. To which they managed to, become wealthy. Although, admittedly, they used inside information that was a criminal act. But they not only got themselves wealthy, but they got Jamie Lee Curtis's character wealthy, and the butler with his life savings wealthy. So, in the end, the Duke brothers have everything stripped from them, and they are poor now. And we get Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis, ending up together because they fell for each other while he had nothing, and his fiance had basically left him when he had nothing, and so he didn't want to get back to her, I guess. And Eddie Murphy's there, and he's wealthy on a beach, as is the butler, wealthy on the beach with his own butler. So, pleasant ending, but it's early 80s movie. I mean, it's fun for a lot of it. It's not bad. I have 2 copies of it because, it was a movie from before I was born, and so at some point my mom was like, oh, that's probably a movie Adam would like, and she bought it for me. And then later on, a year, maybe 2 later, she probably saw it somewhere and thought, oh, that's a movie Adam would probably like, that he's probably never seen, and bought it for me. So again, I watched it, now I can put one of them on the little section of shelf that's stuff that I need to trade in at half-price books, and I want to do that sooner rather than later, because that'll clear off more shelf space, and I'm working on clearing off space on shelves and such, so having less junk that I don't need is the current goal. Otherwise, it's a bit late. There was a nap taken in the middle of the movie where I just had to pause it and be like, and resting. But I am feeling better at this point, so well worth it. As it's going through the scenes here, there was Dan Aykroyd, when he's like suicidal, he's dressed as a very dirty, drunken Santa Claus, because this is, in fact, like a Christmas movie. It takes place over Christmas into New Year's. So, lots of Christmas decorations all over the place. So, yeah. Anyways, I think I was probably saying it's late. I'm a rest, get some sleep, call it a night. But I'm at least feeling better. Thank you for joining me, and join me as my journey continues.